Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us for today's meetup. On today's agenda, the team will be discussing what's coming up in state and local government solutions. As a reminder, we'll be recording and posting this meetup on meetups.com. During the meetup, if you'd like to make comments or chat with other participants, then please use the chat panel. However, if you'd like to submit a question for the team to answer, then please submit it through the Q&A panel. With that said, I'll go ahead and pass it over to Scott.
Thanks everyone for joining us today. We've got a lot of exciting things we'd like to share with you. Today on today's meetup, we're going to focus on a couple key things. We want to share with you the work we're prioritizing and actively developing to enhance our state and local government solutions. In some cases, we're going to give you a sneak peek of some of the early work we're doing, and then ultimately share with you our release plans for late 2018 and the first half of 2019. And throughout the meetup today, we really want to be very transparent with the plans we have underway so you can use them to influence the work you're doing in your organizations. And ultimately, if you're interested in partnering with us on some of the new solution offerings, we certainly would encourage you to do that as well. So let me just start with a little bit of context and focus a little bit on the priorities we are laser focused on. The first one is a lot of our time is spent enhancing and supporting existing solutions. And as you know, with each subsequent release of ArcGIS, we validate that the solutions we've developed and shipped work on the latest versions of our platform and continuously are evolving those solution offerings to take advantage of new capabilities and new product offerings in ArcGIS. So what you'll see with each subsequent release of our solution offering is that we're continuing to enhance those solutions to take advantage of those capabilities to ensure they work on the latest releases of ArcGIS. And as we do that, we reduce dependency on some of our older applications. We're updating layers and associated cartography. We're providing new ArcGIS app configurations in some cases to take advantage of the latest technologies and to round out some of the workflows that we support and capabilities we deliver in the offering. And ultimately, we're also taking advantage of a lot of the new ArcGIS capabilities that are coming in terms of new product offerings. One big area we're really focused on right now is a whole new set of ArcGIS configurations that advance the work we've been doing with EM operations. And so you'll see new configurations that take advantage of all of this work coming in early 2019. So part of our work is really just continuing to support the existing solutions we have. Another big part of the work is also developing new solution offerings. And today we're going to share with you some new domains we're working in. And kind of the third leg of our stool is the work we're doing to simplify the deployment of our offerings. And for 2 years now or so, we've had a ArcGIS Pro-based deployment approach that you can use kind of as a one-click deployment to lay down the solution offerings and take advantage of them in your organization. And we're currently well underway with some new capabilities that'll be delivered right inside an ArcGIS organization that'll make that deployment process even simpler. And early next year, you'll hear more from us on that. So we're not going to spend a whole lot of time today on the enhancements we're making to existing solutions, but we are going to probably focus most of our time on the new solution offerings that we're developing. And those new solution offerings are organized around the domains you would expect to see in state and local government. We've got a whole host of work underway for the public safety community, so that's the fire service, law enforcement, and emergency management industries, transportation, assessment and taxation, a new area we're diving into for public transit, fish and wildlife, natural resources. And you'll also see we're working not only in those kind of vertical domains like natural resources and agriculture, even public works, we're also working on strategic initiatives that kind of cut across those agencies like performance management, homelessness, and even neighborhood revitalization. So today we want to share with you some of the plans we have for each of these domain areas and ultimately give you a sneak peek of what we've been working on. Before I hand it over to Chris, let me just talk a little bit about our plans for public safety. As I mentioned, a great deal of our energy right now is focused on enhancing the existing EM operations offerings, and that could never be more timely with some of the recent events we saw on the Gulf Coast, with the hurricanes and even the wildfires in California. But we want to go beyond that work in 2019. And so you'll see us working to round out our special event planning solutions to include event planning and operations. The crime analysis solution that we have and we released earlier this year is actually one of our fastest growing solution offerings. And we're going to continue to enhance that offering by consolidating some of the current ArcMap-based analytical tools we have, and really kind of continue to build out a comprehensive crime analysis add-in for ArcGIS Pro. So those are the two major initiatives we have in the near term we'll be working on in 2019, and you'll see there's also some work we have planned later in the year and maybe even early 2020 around site and school safety, food service, fire service accreditation, and even flood response planning and mitigation. And so we'll be working across the emergency management, law enforcement, and fire service domains in 2019. Let me turn it over to Chris now, and he can talk a little bit about the work we're doing in assessment and taxation, and just keep going.
So as Scott mentioned, we've been working to modernize quite a few of our assessment and taxation solutions, but we've also been working on some new things in this area. So what I'll talk about today is some of our new public engagement solution offerings, which includes a new Value Hub initiative page, which I'll show. We've also been working on modernizing our existing tax parcel viewer. You'll get a sneak peek of that today as well. The other areas that we wanted to improve or even build new solutions for are around integrating with other business systems, such as your CAMA system within your tax and assessment organization, and also offer some new publication tools. And we're probably going to leverage ArcGIS Pro for that, to be able to publish your authoritative, not only parcel geometry information, but also the assessment data as well. And we're ongoing work with the development team on building our new next generation tax parcel editing map and editing workflows and tools, which also include, which we have currently right now, our PLSS data management workflows as well. So we are working in those areas. Longer term goals, we want to be able to help you organize field workers better, which would be appraisers in the field, and even doing some things with regression analysis and outlier detection to help your appraisers get their work done when they're back in the office. So without further ado, I'll just go ahead and jump out and show a couple of those things. The first thing I wanted to mention was our new tax parcel viewer. So one of the applications that we had was called My Tax Distribution. And what we wanted to do is actually combine the functionality of that application with a new modern tax parcel viewer app. So this is very similar to what you may have seen before with our existing tax parcel viewer. It has a very similar look and feel, but it has some really cool new functionality. So the first thing I want to do is actually just go ahead and search for a parcel, which you could have done before. And once you have I've identified a parcel on the map, instead of showing the pop-up in the map, we actually included it in the side panel pop-up, which is something that we've heard a lot of customers ask for. So this is showing you just general property characteristics. But like I mentioned, the tax distribution work that we did with the tax distribution app has now been included in the pop-up as well. So this is actually showing you the breakdown of where your property tax dollars on your property tax bill are being spent. So for instance, the bulk of the bill is actually being distributed to the grade school in this case. And then as you go down the distributions, you can see where they're going, and then the total tax actually due on that property. You can also link out to more information, which could be maybe your property record card or something similar. You may actually have something like this already within your organization that you just want to link to. So that's the parcel viewer. Going a step further, what I wanted to showcase today and show is a new way of thinking about providing very focused property value information to the general public. So this is our new Understanding Property Value Hub page. And what you're seeing is a story around how property value and taxes are determined at the city and county that you live in. So the first part of the web page explains where your property tax dollars go. So they fund public schools, law enforcement, streets, libraries, and other things. And then a nice section about property by the numbers. So many folks don't actually know, how many properties or parcels the county maintains. So it's showing you that. Of those parcels, how many of those are single family homes, condos, personal property accounts, ag and ranch properties, and even the total market value of all those properties. So it's giving you some nice statistics that are driven from the data that you already maintain within your organization. So that's property by the numbers. And then going a step further, well, how does it work? So at the county, we actually go out and value property. We actually do site visits. We do back office work to actually generate sketches and then ultimately create a value on your property. We then hand it over to folks that actually produce a taxable value and ultimately a tax bill at the tax office. And some people don't agree with their property taxes. So what happens when you actually protest that property value, which you can do as a citizen and a taxpayer? What's the process you go through to protest value on a particular property? What if you're buying property? So maybe you're a real estate agent or you're a prospective property owner. I can actually type in the sale price that I'm going to go actually bid on for a property, see how the estimated value may be calculated, and even the tax, the total tax that may be due on that property estimated. We're also looking for, we're thinking about doing other things in here like adding in exemptions and other things that may actually affect the assessed value, and in the end, the estimated tax. So that's just built right into the site, which is kind of nice. The other thing, I just showed you the new tax parcel viewer with the tax distribution integration. But what if we just embedded that functionality directly in the site? So I actually have a version of this application that's simply embedded in the hub page. So I can zoom to a property or just click on the map and get that same very focused panel type pop-up that I had before. So it is the same application styled slightly differently to appear in the hub page. You may actually choose, if you want to go a step further as a taxpayer, dig into other applications that we have available to you. So in addition to the tax parcel viewer, we also have included the comp finder, my tax distribution as a standalone application, and floodplain inquiry. And these applications maybe dig in a little further and tell you if that property may be in a flood zone. So you can think about customizing this application to have a more focused experience that way. If you haven't got enough information from the applications and the stories we've told about property value and how it's determined, you can actually go and download data sets. So this is actually linking off to our open data pages for the focused data sets that you may want to publish here. For instance, parcels, recent sales, foreclosures, even school districts and subdivision boundaries. And at the end, you can see how or what important dates you need to know about. So when are the actual appraised value notices sent out to taxpayers? When is the last day for me to appeal my property tax value? Things like that. So this property tax calendar can be customized for the dates that you feel that are important for taxpayers to know about. And in the end, if you don't agree with your property tax after reading all that, you can actually link right off to our property assessment appeal application, which we offer as a standalone app as well to start the appeal process. Or if you just want to call and get more information about a particular property, you can just call us up on the phone and we can talk to you or connect you with an appraiser. So that's the property, understanding property value hub, and we're actually looking for folks to help us with this. So if you're interested in collaborating with us on a site like this, just let us know. Or if you have some feedback in general about our land records or tax and assessment applications, please reach out to us. Okay, just jump back real quick to some more slides. So that was our assessment and taxation to sneak peek. We've also been doing a lot of work, as Scott mentioned, in the natural resources and fish and wildlife areas. So one of the big initiatives that many state agencies have is R3, which stands for Recruitment, Retention, and Reactivation of Fishermen and Hunters. So we've been doing a lot of work in this area, not only to promote public places where you can hunt or fish, but also giving folks very focused applications that even link together to show you where you can get even a hunting license or a fishing license. We've been doing a lot of work with the state of Ohio and others on inspecting dams and monitoring those dams. So we have a new Survey 123 configuration that's coming out shortly that will help you identify maybe problem areas within certain dams, or just doing standard inspections that have to be done on a yearly or bi-yearly or even 5-year cycle. So we're working on that, and we actually have a really solid prototype at this point that we want to share out with folks to get feedback on. And then some things further on down the line: angler and creel surveys, boat wrap inspections, hatchery stocking and monitoring solutions, and then even forest action planning. So if you have interest in kind of helping us with these solutions, just let us know and we can get you connected with the right folks. So at this point, I want to hand it over to Andy. He's actually going to show you some of the work we've been doing in this area. So I'll go ahead and stop sharing and let Andy go ahead.
Thanks, Chris. So just jumping right in here. I'm hoping you all can see my screen at the moment. So
Looks good, Andy.
Excellent. So this is part of that R3 initiative that Chris was talking about with those apps that kind of all link together. So what we're looking at right now is kind of the prototype for the license retailer application. So what this application is focused on is helping your community find licensed retailers for fishing, hunting, boating, whatever we need to have set up here. So what you can see here is we can just click on the map and have it zoom in, and leveraging the Near Me widget, we can kind of see who's in the area, who's selling the licenses we need. We can then dig into this a little more, and we can get some targeted information about these licensed retailers, specifically, what type of licenses are available here. This is all driven through Arcade and HTML pop-ups here. So this is all kind of set up in ArcGIS Online and then pulled into the application. So all of this then, because of that, is dynamic based on what we've got in this particular information. So you can see if we go to the Sportsman's store here, we've got slightly different information coming through. Now, because this is through the Near Me widget, we can also have the directions embedded. So this will make it easier for your community to find these locations. And as always with the Near Me, we have a nice little directions pop-up that you can just kind of print out and bring with you if you don't have this on your device. But one thing that we're trying to do is really get the engagement through this pop-up into the other applications. So what we can do here is, in this kind of ideal world, is someone says, oh, I'm going to go to the Sportsman's store here. I'm going to go get my fishing license, but then where do I go fishing? So they can just click on the link here. It will launch a new application for them, which will then feed in the location that they were at for that license, and then from there pull up the more information with regards to fishing and boating in the area. Once again, these are all dynamic to first off show whether or not the location is open, and pull in the latitude and longitude of the coordinate of the location. Should it be right on the water or something like that, and you need something a little more refined than just a street address. We then have textual information regarding the site and fish that are in the area for this particular application, since folks are geared towards fishing here. And once again, this is all dynamic with the Near Me widget. So if we bump this up a little bit, pull in another site, we'll see at this marina here, we have a whole bunch of different fish that are coming through with more information specific to this particular marina with regards to amenities that are available, fees, and that sort of thing. The licensed retailer, though, once again, is linked in through this application here. But what we can also do through the initial app here is find places to hunt and wildlife management. So once again, tying us back in to that goal of essentially retaining and bringing in more hunters and making it easier for folks to find things. So once again, we click on that link, it will launch a new application for us. Once again, feed in our location, automatically zoom to that, and search our area. Now, this application, if you're familiar with the current wildlife management area locator, we've kind of revamped it a little bit just to bring in some more specific information. But what we've got here is the locations, which are the entrances to these wildlife areas, and then the areas themselves. So we can, once again, dig into these guys, see a little more about what's going on. Like the water access locator, we've got these set up so that we can see current information. Is it open, where it is, and then for wildlife management purposes, what game is available in this area to hunt. Once again, this is all being driven by the attributes just with Arcade and HTML just to make some nice looking pop-ups here. And once again, can just kind of tie you back in here. Like the other locator apps, we've got the directions embedded directly in here so that we can kind of zoom around and get to places easily from our licensed retailers or from wherever we happen to be searching here. So with that, I'm gonna open it up to some questions here.
There is one question for Chris about the tax parcel viewer. They were wondering about the side panel pop-up window coming to Web App Builder with ArcGIS Online. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, currently we're just leveraging it's the Near Me widget, the very same widget that you're seeing here with the wildlife management area locator. We've just configured it to work against parcel data. So it's really just using that side panel pop-up. We're hoping to release the actual tax parcel viewer app and like basically pre-configured as a solution in January. So you should be able to get it then. But that functionality is available through the Near Me widget, and that's what we're using and leveraging in the app. Hopefully that answers the question.
Okay. I'll let you know if there's a follow-up question,
cool.
But that seems to be all the questions for now.
Great.
Okay, in that case, we'll hand it off to Chris Fox.
Thanks, Andy. So I want to take some time to talk about some enhancements. First, in public works and transportation. We saw historically we had, we would have some transportation-based solutions at the state level and public works at the local level, and we saw there was a lot of kind of overlap in some of those offerings. So it's helpful to kind of talk to them together, and we do see a lot of sharing between state and local with some of those aspects. One of the items that we're going to demo today that we're planning on shipping in January are a series of enhancements to Citizen Problem Reporter, which is one of our more popular solutions. We've incorporated a lot of feedback that we've heard from the user community and added some new capabilities that I think a lot of you will find very interesting. Moving forward into 2019, some of the things that we're thinking about working on and in regards to transportation is enhancing our Transportation 511 solution, which is a solution currently available in our state government page, showing how you can give the public a sense of current roadway conditions. Are there any traffic accidents? Is there work being done? Is there slowing in different places? And we also provide a script that helps you automate uploading and updating that data so you always have the most current look. We have some ideas of how we could further enhance that and also create a configuration for locals that makes sense. Another solution similar to that is a new traffic operations dashboard, leveraging the new Waze service that can be integrated into ArcGIS today. So you can leverage the Waze-based information to have real-time information about traffic and other roadway conditions, accidents, things like that. In terms of performance and measuring how much traffic is coming in, going out, what are average travel times, things like that. We're looking to create a performance-based dashboard, very similar to what we have today with performance management, but having a specific look at transportation in general, not only cars and buses, but also bicycle or pedestrian traffic. How are people moving throughout the community? How easily are they able to get from where they need to go, from where they are to where they need to go? Snow operations and maintenance is another area that we're looking at. We currently have our Snow Cop solution, which allows you to see current problem reports or snow or ice reports that are coming in, and also track the locations of plows within the community. We want to further enhance this to help with snow operations. So you have an event, there was a big snowstorm and you're clearing the roads. We want to be able to provide some additional solutions to assist with that in that process. Moving forward into later 2019 or 2020, we're looking into asset inspection and condition dashboard. So currently we have asset inventory applications, solutions that allow you to go out and understand where different right-of-way assets are in the community. We want to add some additional workflows to allow you to do some inspections on those assets and see over time how the condition has changed, and really highlight particular assets in the community that are need work, need additional funding to help bring them up to minimum requirements. And then the last thing that we have in this space that is kind of ongoing, and we're continuing to do it, is similar to what Chris showed earlier with a hub initiative. We want to do it around maximizing public investment. So capital project planning, incorporating those applications into a public-facing app that communicates to people how much capital funding do we have, where are we dedicating that money, where are we prioritizing the work that we're doing, what are some of the ongoing projects, what are the future projects we have planned, and really collaborate and be transparent to the community about what things we're working on. So why don't we go ahead, and I'm going to hand it off to Heather, who's going to show some of the enhancements to our Citizen Problem Reporter solution.
Thanks, Chris. Okay, thanks. So as Chris mentioned, we made some enhancement to our Citizen Problem Reporter solution. For those of you who may not be familiar, it's actually comprised of three applications. So the first application that we're looking at now is the Citizen Problem Reporter, and it's a configuration of Crowdsource Reporter. That's a configurable app available in online and in enterprise. And it allows the general public to submit non-emergency problems. Some of the enhancements that we've made to this particular application is just some language to the actual form as well as the layout. And we made some enhancements to the pop-up. So we've arranged some of the content and also included the status bar, which was configured using arcade expressions. The next application is Citizen Problem Manager. So this is a configuration of Crowdsource Manager. And this allows the city staff to basically triage and manage the reports that come in from the public. So if I click on one of the records, you'll notice that there's detailed information, and this is coming from the pop-up as well. So we've made some enhancements, and you'll also notice that the status bar is also included here. So if I go ahead and update the status to completed, provide a date that it was resolved on, as well as comments, you'll notice that there will be additional information that shows up in the details pop-up about, oh, here we go, about the resolution information that I just inputted. We've also included the satisfaction survey. If I click on this, hold on, an email, you can manually send emails to the submitters, and once they receive the email, they can go ahead and actually just click on the hyperlink, and this is going to open up a survey 123 survey essentially, so they can fill out this survey and basically provide you feedback on the services that you guys provided. Another enhancement that we've also made was just allowing users to basically filter out information within each of the columns within the manager application. The final app is the Citizen Problem Dashboard, and this is configuration of Operations Dashboard. If you're familiar with this application, we've kept the overview that just gives you obviously an overview of what's going on within the city. We've also simplified this application to just include 3 tabs essentially. So this tab just gives you information about the problem reports, and it's also interactive. So if you click on the bars within the bar chart or within the pie chart, you'll see that the map updates based off of what you filtered. The final tab is the information that you've collected from the survey results. And again, you can also interact with the bar chart, and you'll notice that the information within the map adjusts as well. You can also get detailed information about the survey results as well by interacting either with the map or within the list itself. So with that said, I'll go ahead and pass it back over to Chris.
Thanks, Heather. Okay, so the next area I want to take a look at, want to talk a little bit about is transit. So this is a new area for us in terms of solutions that we've heard from our users and have heard of the need in the industry. So we're beginning engagements with some customers about understanding different requirements for our transit-based solutions. Some of the things that we've heard that we're looking to focus on initially is an application, potentially collector or survey 123 that allows transit agencies to do an inventory of bus stops and also understand whether those bus stops are ADA compliant, so they can have a solid inventory of that information. We also, another popular request we've gotten is similar to transportation. Transit is interested in a performance-based dashboard, understanding are buses arriving on time? Are they being delivered at regular intervals? What are the ridership numbers like? How many people are coming on or coming off at each stop? And also real-time tracking of buses or trains within the community. So having full transparency into all performance aspects of a transit organization. Some further things out that we've heard about is communicating where the service lines are, and also as well as highlighting any upcoming or planned service changes, allowing the community to comment on proposed changes and give their feedback about we're deciding to move this bus line stop from A to B. Will that impact you? What is the impact in understanding that? We're looking at a solution to manage transit data, manage routes. When you're planning a new route, there are some federal requirements to understand the demographics of the community who would be served by that transit route and ensure that you're providing equitable transit in the community. So there are some analysis tools that we're thinking about in that space. And then finally, transit safety. So for law enforcement or individuals, security who are working at different bus stops or train stops for along transit routes, how can we better equip them with tools to do their jobs? For homelessness, we have quite a few solutions out today. We're looking to further expand on those solutions based on feedback that we've gotten from the user community. One of the ones that Rebecca is going to show here in a second is around homelessness prevention. So running a set of analysis tools to understand where in the community you're most at risk for generating new homelessness, and then also where in the community would it be where it would make most sense for you to locate new programs or policies to assist people before they become homeless. So hoping to prevent homelessness from occurring in the first place. Another solution that's been very popular and something that has been requested of us a lot is to enhance our existing homeless service locator app to communicate bed availability at different emergency shelters. So you could see this type of pattern used in homelessness. We see uses in opiate treatment centers as well as other emergency shelters How do those shelters communicate the current status of their bed availability? And then how do we provide an app that allows members of the community to see what is the current bed availability at those different locations? And then further out that we're looking into late 2019 or 2020, providing examples of forms that you can make available potentially from a hub site for homelessness, allowing members of the community to volunteer or to donate foods, goods, or services to assist the homeless. A series of enhancements to our existing homeless activity reporter that we've received. Point in time count planning. So today we have a point in time count survey. So once a year, communities of care have to go out and conduct a sheltered or unsheltered survey of homeless individuals. Part of that process involves canvassing the community and finding all the homeless and interviewing them or observing information about them. So part of that involves making sure that you distribute the different volunteers or workers evenly throughout the community so that they're canvassing everything and everyone is counted. So we want to provide some tools that can assist with that. And then the homeless count manager would be another tool that would go along with that during the night of, to make sure that the staff who are out in the field are in the right place, that they're where they need to be, and if there are any problems that you can respond to those problems. So with that, I want to turn it over to Rebecca, who's going to show a little bit about the homelessness prevention solution.
Okay, so this tool is geared towards GIS analysts working to understand community needs. And if you're working on homelessness, this will be easily relatable, but if you're working in a different department and are focused on other community needs, this workflow can easily be modified for you to understand other demographic distributions in your community. So I'd encourage you to think about how this workflow can be used to understand things you care about, like maybe your education system or business development potential or natural disaster risks. So here we have police districts in Naperville, and the first tool is going to help us create a homelessness risk surface. So here we're adding point data that you might have from your community. So here we have assaults, which is correlated with domestic violence, which is a predictor of homelessness. And this is a workflow for adding that to your polygons. Next, we are using the enrich layer tool, and the tool comes with some variables already added that are in relation to homelessness, but you can go in and add new variables. So looking at spending or education, and that will add that data to your polygons. And next, we're creating the homelessness risk surface. So I'm going to take the enriched layer from those police districts, and then I'm adding different risk factors that influence somebody's or a community's risk of generating homelessness. So some of these are how many of those houses are renter occupied versus owner occupied. There's some communities that are generally more at risk of veterans, minorities, people with disabilities, food stamps, or people on food stamps. And so I would add those factors, and then here we'd add other factors where a lower number indicates you're more likely to become homeless. And I'll show you the output of that tool. And we see the darker colors indicate a higher likelihood of that area generating homelessness. And so this would be a great place to add on top of this your point and count times and see how they relate. And next we have identifying places to put programs in to help mitigate and stop people from becoming homeless. And this is, a big push in a lot of communities, and is to use more data-driven factors in putting in these interventions. And so here I would take the output of that homelessness risk surface, And then I'm adding contributing factors to the specific program. So if you have some money earmarked for maybe housing projects, then you could go in here and look at different factors that are relating to housing. So this is people who are spending more than 50% of their income to pay their mortgage or their rent. I'd add those and then choose a name for that project and the number of results, so that we're only looking at communities that were at a high risk of generating homelessness and not looking at these other areas that were already at a low risk. And so you could do this for a few different projects. Here I have one for food insecurity, one for housing, and then one for veterans. And you can see how these different communities are, these different subpopulations are not equally distributed across the city. Okay, and the last step would be a final program ranking. So you have all these different projects that you're thinking about implementing, and we can take all of those and put them in to get a final ranking where I'm adding those projects here and then choosing a weight. So if veterans are a really big issue, of homeless veterans in your area, then you could rank that higher, and that will be given a higher priority in the ranking system, and you could rate these lower. And I'll show you the output of that as well. I think what's really interesting here is when we look at, this was the, I don't know if this will show up on, oops. Well, I'll just flip it back and forth, but you can just see that it elucidates big differences in your community and helps and would help you figure out where to start implementing projects. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Chris.
Thanks, Rebecca. Okay, so the last one I want to talk a little bit about is performance management. In our last meetup, we went into greater detail on the performance management solution. We are very close to releasing the performance management hub initiative, which is the website I showed encapsulating the performance management story that you can activate in your organization and then begin telling your performance management story to the community, describing what things are important to you, what outcomes, what KPIs you're measuring, and really give transparency to how the community is performing. We are currently actively working on a set of enhancements to the performance management solution that add a equity and social justice lens to the solution. So not only understanding how the community as a whole is performing and potentially different neighborhoods are performing, but how are different demographic groups that we want to particularly focus on, how are the conditions equitable for them, and are they equitable across the community? So we really want to include that as part of the solution. We're also working on better incorporating partner contributions. So as for example, a county who's has a performance management initiative, how do we better integrate information that's coming from different cities or other municipalities within the county so that we have the most up-to-date and accurate information that's rolling up into the county's performance management. And then further out, we're looking at public sentiment is a big part of performance management. So not only the facts about how we're performing, but the feelings. How do people feel about the quality of life within the community? How do they feel about the services that the community is offering? We want to provide a survey and a means for gathering that public sentiment. And then finally, understanding performance trends. So as we implement different programs, are we seeing improvement in the results of the performance? So over time. So it's very important that we have limited budgets and we have limited resources, it's very important that we are investing in areas, in programs, and in policies that are making a difference for quality of life within the community. So providing a set of tools that help us understand those trends is very important as well. So with that, I'll open it up for some questions.
We actually have one question. So Vince seems very excited about the homelessness solution enhancements.
Great.
Do you know when the release is targeted for?
So the homelessness prevention solution that Rebecca showed, the pro-based workflow and the analysis, we're planning to release in January. We're currently working on the bed count solution. That one's still a little bit up in the air of when we'd release it. But I can say with the prevention one that was demoed that that's very realistically going out in January.
Okay. I think this is more of a question for Chris Biscagula. Darius is he's a utility agency that maintains his own parcel, streets, and address data.
Okay.
And he wants to migrate to ArcGIS 10.6.1 utility network, or maybe this is a Scott question. Does the local government solution have a standardized parcel, address, and street data model that they should be migrating to with ArcGIS 10.6.1? Can either Chris or Scott?
Yeah, I mean, it's Scott, feel free to chime in. It's kind of a loaded question, but I think that for our address data management tools, we definitely have a solution for managing address data at the local level. Same thing for parcels. Our utility solutions have actually been updated and are available currently too under our utility solution offerings. So I guess the short answer is yes. We may want to dig in and get a little more information about how you want to manage that or kind of organize that within your department. Scott, do you have anything else to add?
No, I think that's good. Yeah, I mean, what Chris is really getting at is, are you actively managing that parcel data and the transactions and addresses that go with it, or are you just kind of storing it and getting it from other data sources? Either way, we've definitely got some solutions that can help you manage it and organize that data in a geodatabase for sure. Yep.
Okay.
Chris, I'm going to go ahead and take the screen share back while we're taking questions.
Sounds good.
One more question. Address data management for Pro soon?
Was soon in the question, Heather, actually?
Yes, yes it was actually.
So, you know, we have been thinking a lot about what the next generation of address data management looks like, and obviously there's some really unique and fundamental capabilities we deliver in that ArcMap configuration. We are working with the core dev team, and that's Attribute Assistant and some of the other construction tools that really make address data management very simple and straightforward. We are working with the core dev team to continue to enhance attribute rules in the core product. And as those rules mature, we will be looking at the future for address data management. I don't know that we'll say that it's going to be like a straight port from ArcMap to ArcGIS Pro. We may also look at, much like Chris has done with some of the parcel editing solutions, we may look at developing a set of real focused web-based tools that kind of split the workflow out and maybe allow you to allocate it in a simpler way, or do it within ArcGIS Pro as a client too. So we're thinking about lots of different things there, but nothing in the real near term. We need some technology to mature in the core product first. The one thing I will say about addresses, though, we are thinking about for the first half of 2019 is making sure that we have all of the requisite components that are in the NINA Next Gen 911 standard in our address data management, current address data management solution. So you can, if you wish, publish data from that format into Next Gen 911. We will never adopt that standard holistically, but we will certainly ensure that you can manage the data in ArcGIS in an efficient way and then produce NINA compliant data if you need to.
Okay.
So hopefully that answered your question.
Okay, if there's any follow-up, I'll definitely
Okay.
ask. Chris has a question. Anything on the development front with database integration into any of the local government solution applications? I don't know if you can answer that.
I'm not really sure what Chris is getting at there necessarily.
Okay.
I mean,
Maybe you
one
can
of the,
provide a follow-up. Go
yeah,
ahead, Chris. Bud.
just one of the things that comes to mind is some of the work we may be doing with parcel data and other business system content, like coming from a CAMA system or an appraisal system.
Mm-hmm.
We've also done some integration work with CityWorks too, like on the
Yep.
crowdsourced reporter front to integrate with other business systems for work order asset management things. So maybe if you can get a little more specific, we can answer it in more detail.
Yep.
But yeah, we have tools to help you also integrate, tabular data as well.
Right.
He did follow up with some more information, adding non-Esri based data such as SQL database connections to pull in database data and integrate it with the application. Don't know if that provides more information.
Yeah, so how you do that probably is an architectural conversation in your environment. It's probably a little specific. I mean, most of the solutions we showed today are all running on feature layers that are managed within an ArcGIS data store, whether hosted or on-premise, right, Chris? So,
yeah.
So a lot, where that content's coming from and how it kind of makes its way in your architecture can vary. So.
But I will say that there are ways you can architect that so that you can use non-Esri data. Ultimately, things need to be a service, but SQL Server has a spatial type, for example, that's not in a geodatabase, and you can use that you can create a view, or you can join it to other spatial data via a view, and you can publish that as a service using ArcGIS Server. And once it's a feature service, then you can consume it in an app. So there are ways to work with non-geodatabase data in services by just connecting directly to SQL Server or Oracle and consuming them that way.
Okay, great. Right now there is no questions, so if you want to continue, Scott.
Okay, great. So I just had a few more slides I wanted to wrap up with. So the team showed a lot of new offerings we're working on across some of those major domains. And you actually met some new team members virtually today that we've added this fall. And I just want to summarize kind of with the last couple areas we're working on, and then the schedule is kind of the high-level schedule as we have it. So Chris talked a lot about natural resources and fish and wildlife. We also have been looking at enhancing our Department of Ag solutions and focusing specifically on food safety inspections. And the last area I'll mention real briefly is neighborhood revitalization. We continue to enhance those solutions that help you understand conditions within your neighborhood, begin to look at early warning indicators for how neighborhoods may be tipping in a positive, negative direction, and ultimately then tie that into a series of code enforcement and performance type activities as well in your organization. So that'll be an area we continue to invest in and work with communities closely on. So let me just wrap with kind of where we envision releasing some of this content. We have 4 planned releases between now and next year's user conference. The December 2018 release, which will be kind of coinciding with the ArcGIS Online release, will just be a minor release for us, where we'll be retiring some existing solutions. The ones I want to call your attention to is the Campus Place Locator and Campus Editing Map. If you are using those solutions, you can continue to do that. But if you were thinking about potentially implementing them, this kind of last quarter or early 2019, I would encourage you to really start thinking about ArcGIS Indoors and talking to your account rep, because that really is a way forward for those campus-like implementations. In January, you'll see a lot of the content that the team showed you today, new offerings for public works, natural resources, the homelessness solutions that Chris talked about a few minutes ago, and some of the emergency and management solutions that we referred to earlier on in the presentation. Kind of following that same pattern, then March will be a little bit smaller release for us. Mike Daigle, a new member of the team, has been actively working on enhancements to our existing election solutions. So we want to make sure that you guys have the latest and greatest for the 2020 election. If you're from the States, you can't believe we're already talking about 2020, but we are, and we want to make sure that you're equipped with a set of solutions that take advantage of our latest capabilities. And Mike's also thinking about some new workflows and new capabilities we'll provide as well too for those elections offerings. So look for that in March. And then June will be another major release, new content for the public safety community, transportation and transit, the performance management work that Chris talked about, and Chris and team have also been thinking a lot about some of the new natural resources solutions that we showed you earlier today. So you can kind of see the pattern. We have maybe a small release that supports, provides some support and maintenance activities, then a little bit larger release right after the holidays, and then a big release right before the user conference as we've had in years past. So that was a quick overview of the plans we have for the state and local government solutions in the next year or so. And hopefully you saw some things that were interesting to you and maybe aligned with some of the work you're doing in your communities. If you have any questions, we can take them now, or if you do want to connect with us directly after the meetup, please feel free to do so. You can do that directly through the meetup site. And if you are interested in even connecting with us and partnering with us on the solutions we have planned, we'd love to do that. So don't hesitate to reach out. On behalf of the team, I appreciate your time today. And Heather, unless we have any other questions, I think we can wrap up and call it a meetup.
Yeah, no questions that I can see. So like Scott mentioned, we'll just wrap up the meetup. So thanks for joining us today. And we also want to thank everybody who's attended our meetups for the past year. We look forward to seeing and hearing from you in the new year. So until then, have a great afternoon and happy holidays, everybody.